And we welcome you. Good afternoon. Welcome you to our third annual Men's Forum on Violence in Our Communities. Today you will hear a discussion from our 5 brothers in the community, 5 distinguished brothers of the St. Louis Metro East area community, discuss the cause and cure to the violence here in the metropolitan area. As we all know, we've been plagued with this for quite a while, and it's getting out of control as far as men, women, and children being murdered on our streets here. So we're having an intelligent discussion of that today. And before we get started, we will need to do a group exercise, basically clearing our minds and thoughts to receive the message that we need today. And the way we do our group exercise is crossing our right hand over our left hand and our right foot over our left foot, which is a double triangle, to let that energy flow through our minds and bodies. So we're going to do it just for a brief moment. Okay, everyone. Okay, and before we get into our discussion, we will have a 27-minute excerpt from our master teacher, Dr. David Berry, who is the originator of the New Age Truth of Missouri Incorporated organization. So he's going to give us an enlightenment about the cause and cure and our beast nature that's within this form that is causing such violence in this area. Now, we ask that you hold any questions that you may have to the end of the excerpt, and we will have a brief discussion.
Feel that we're smarter than another. To such an extent, excuse me, we don't want to hear nothing from another. They'd like to serve notice on us. No animal needs help from another. You don't find one beast that feel you need help from another. It's instinctively inborn in him. He don't need help. Did he have it in himself all he needs? I'm only bringing out some facts. You can check this set right here, see. There's a little small animal getting in a fight with a larger one. The large animal, they have him in his mouth, beat him against the ground. Maybe he open his mouth and release him. Running on off, saving his life. You'll turn right around and come on back. Stay there and fight back to the other killing. How many of these so-called humans that you don't find the same thing with? That's right. We can understand about that when we learn about the cause. In the evolutionary creative period coming down, when everything got to where they had to get food from atmosphere, the conflict began. The stronger began to devour the weaker manifest. And here is where the carnal law of evolution began having its rise. And survival of the beast becomes the first law of the planet. And when you hear many people say today, self-preservation is the first law of nature, don't brag about it anymore. You make yourself look bad. It's only talking about that brute nature in you. You should have risen above it now. You should be even vast, even to think about. You should be that advanced in your evolutionary progress at this time. They're not bragging about it. That's exactly what you do. When you say self-preservation, the great law of nature, I want you to know, it's even on what kind of nature it was. It's the beast nature. That's right, the beast nature. Although that's what exists in reality. Most of us have not met a man or an individual yet that's risen above the brute nature and himself. Very few is risen above it yet. I believe in the country, in part, more or less I should say, altogether. And I'm very grateful for being close to nature. We used to raise hogs. And my dad raised livestock. And I used to love to go to about play games. Excuse me. And many times that old South run me out of life. Because if I played one of them little pigs and made them squeal out, I better take the tank. She'd come to devour me. I'd go and get the food can, come back. Sometimes she'd be lying down in the restaurant. When I come back, she's eating little pieces large enough, they jump up and start running. The feed truck. They jump over in the truck. Sit down and stand up in and trying to eat. She eat them down, she gets one of them, take her nose, and toss them up in the air. They hit the ground, squeal and holler like a feather out themselves. She look around, she gotta get the legs. Why? You make one squeal holler and see what happens. Yeah. It's all right for her to do it. Why is she doing that? Because they become an opposition and competition to the future. And it's come to the two-legged beast. You'll kill someone by his brother. When the same brother become an opposition or competition to him, like that. And you sure not want to do something to someone by his woman. But now when she becomes too much opposition and competition to her, Without she gonna get it too.
Yes, sir.
Here is where we are. You ever hardly met one in your life that's reasonable of their brute nature yet? That's right. And I am a part of does he think he is and feel that he is. And every one of those animals are independent of each other. You don't need no help from them. These are things that we as personalities need to come to some awareness of. What you think about each other is nothing. You can hardly endure one another. That's right.
Yes, sir.
And you were trying for a while, and that's why I said, listen, let me tell you one thing. I'll take much time to go take it. I can't stand no more like that. And that individual maybe just talking, just expressing themselves. But that bitterness and that enmity rise up in your soul. You just can't stand it. Did you not know that love and hate playing on the same keyboard? You don't know how to love yet. I tell you little old silly women, you're not satisfied with a man who don't say that he loves. I tell him, listen, that man's treating you pretty good. If you don't never say he loves you, you about better be satisfied. And if that woman don't ever tell you that, you better go on and be unsatisfied about that. When she tells you she loves you, you're on dangerous ground. That's right.
Yes, sir.
You're on dangerous ground. If you ever notice it when you get around someone that you really dislike, you get an extra palpitation of the heart, an extra emotion rises. You get around someone you call yourself loving, the same thing happens. Playing on the same keyboard. Keyboard is your emotion. You haven't risen in the book, you haven't risen above that check. You know when you were risen above it? When you reach the human kingdom. The emotion is used to bring men to the kingdom. Shock wakes up sensitivity and intelligence in man. Yes, this fella going to kill everybody off. You can't tell him nothing. Can't do anything with it. The man come along, he was out here 2-3 times that nightstick. He wants to tell this fella you're a saint. It subdued the beast in him that allowed nature to manifest itself. The naturalness of your being. Your brute nature is preventing that. That's why today, the aspiration and self-discipline must proceed side by side. And it has to be consciously self-imposed. You know, there are people that are so self-abusive don't care. That's right. But it is the foundation for love, you all. I visit you so quick to tell you, I love you. Lick them once or twice. I get common expression, but it's the truth. Kiss them, you know, that's what I'm talking about when I say lick them. And then you're ready to say, I love you. And you prove them silly women, that's foolish enough to accept it. And the man can't even prove that he cares for you. I'm not down in the man. This is vice versa. This goes for anyone that says that. Men that really are. Can we stand truth? Now you may say yes. You know the next question out there, anyone able to say yes? You know the next question I'd ask you. What is truth? Don't go pointing no book to me. Don't go calling this truth. What about truth? How do you know it's the word of God?
Yes, sir.
Time's out for a lot of ignorant foolishness, people. The world's going mad. That's right. Your children going mad. Raving mad. You don't even know what to say to them. You know why? You haven't learned what to say for yourself. I said, you have not learned what to say for yourself. It said, train up the child the way they should go while they're young. But the old will not depart. Why they will not depart? Practice makes perfect. They become it. I do not. All right. I say practice makes perfect. All right. You know, we just say words and we just go along. But listen, there's one thing I'd like to leave with you people. And please work hard to spread it throughout St. Louis and every place you go. And that is condemnation. Erase that word. Now the best they're going to do in the courts, and many of those in the courts that convict you, see, not condemn you, did you hear that?
Yes, sir.
You notice they don't use the word condemn? It says convict, don't they?
Yes.
They let their conviction ally along with the crime. Have you ever noticed that? That's something I'd like for you all to observe, yeah?
Yes, sir.
And here we are so holy and so righteous. And every time we open our mouth, it's condemnation. Yes, it's condemnation. And so much so, but did you not know that this fellow right here, sitting up here in front of everything he needs to be? That's sex. He'll make you do things. He'll come back and condemn you to death about it. That would not be so if it were not told. What does anyone have within them other than what they've received? Huh? There's not a human being in here. In this cycle of life, or in all the past ones, have in you today that you did not receive. Objectively out here, they have hypodermic needles and they give shots and this and the other with it. But they don't have no mental ones. Not yet. No, not yet. I think what you get in you, you have to receive it. Willingly. If there's many times they give us shots, we are unwilling to it, aren't we?
Yes, sir.
They say we need it and they force it on. But I'll tell you the truth. Most of us today need a good mental tonic.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But where is the place to get it? Where is the pharmacist? To know how to prepare it. Huh?
Yes, sir.
Truly, listen, we have two digestive systems out here. A physical and a mental one. You have two minds. Physical mouth and a mental mouth, so to speak. Means source of receptivity is what I'm speaking about now, yeah? Now if I tell you the truth about something, don't get offended. Yeah? It's the truth I'm going to tell you though. How many that are qualified right now as it now stands to be taught something? But you feel that you're qualified. Of course you do. What else? You're qualified enough to get a master's degree. Then don't tell me I'm not qualified prepared to learn something. Listen to this. Until you do all you know, to the best you know, about what you know, only then is it time to learn more. How many of us are in that state of condition right now? I'm talking about this we're dealing with now. All right. And to be human, you are controlled by self. That's man's greatest enemy.
Yes, sir.
Maybe most of us have not understood human yet. Let me bring us up to date, if you don't mind. Vibration is creation. It's separation. It's crystallization. And that is why this Western world is now, this afternoon. The Western world man. Human. The Western world human. Is at the third point of vibration now. They said H-U-M-A-N spelled human. I wouldn't argue with them about that. We have a long way to go yet, even to become.
Yes, sir.
The most vicious is among the cat families, the tiger. See that tiger cat there? Looks like a lion.
Yes, sir.
And the inner or spiritual name that they taught you, or what I say, talking your language. The inner or spiritual name, as they say, is at times is Hugh. H-U.
Yes, sir.
Add man to it, and what does it spell? Hugh man. Did you hear it?
Yes, sir.
That's exactly what these are, walking around here on his 2 feet, yeah. The animal man in a body. I say the animal man in a body. That's right. So the animal man have 5 rungs of the ladder to go up, gentlemen. He first has got to be intelligized, civilized, rationalized, humanized, and divinized. And he's not at the 3rd rung of the ladder this evening. He's not even rational yet. Rationality is a result of being able to consciously conform to conditions. How many people you find to do that today? All right. He's not as rational as the 4-legged beast. They have him in a cage. Let's prove that. The zoos around here are filled with them from all over the world. But you don't see them going to the zoo because they change environment with them. Nature has given them a consciousness that will enable them to adapt themselves to their environment. Did you see any of them do anything against themselves?
Yes, sir.
They're too rational. You see the 2-legged one doing anything against himself? All the time. Because he's irrational. See the difference now?
Yes, sir.
As important as you think you are. All right, now when you get reach rationality, rationalized consciousness give birth to reason. The first thing the reason does is go over here and differential between that two-legged beast in the house and the four-legged beast in the forest. Then it come back and give you stability and balance. All of these things that's been causing your emotion to rise, such as your love, hate, fear, and etc. And then it comes to you and enable you to inwardly conform to outward reality and deal with it without emotion. You know why? That beast in you now sends the forest. You see the end comes there? The end of what? That brute nature. Wouldn't it be a beautiful world to live in then?
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon again, brothers and sisters. That was our brief excerpt from our master teacher, Dr. David Berry, on the beast nature of the four-legged animal versus the two-legged animal. And basically the parallel is there with the violence that we see here in St. Louis. People are definitely not rational about anything. The consciousness is not there. The care is not there. The love, you might as well forget about it. So what we're going to do now, if there's any questions or brief discussion over the excerpt that we just saw, everyone's welcome to state something or any observations. Okay. We'll move forward.
We'd like to make one comment. And greetings, everyone. It's good to see you, Chris, and your young man there, Lamar Live Better. One matter that was brought to our attention when we heard the master lecture, and we don't have anyone of the Christian faith here, but it would be very apropos for them. When we look at the violence out here, as the master stressed, many are quick to condemn.
That's true.
Quick to condemn, particularly if it's urban violence. If it's coming from us. The nations, particularly, are quick to condemn. And even those self-righteous individuals within the Christian community are. But what I would remind them of is God told Abraham that if he could find just 10 righteous men in Sodom, forgive me if I got that wrong, it could be Gomorrah, one of the two. I'm going to say Sodom for now. He said, Abraham, if you could find just 10 righteous men, just 10 in Sodom, I won't destroy it. Again, it could be Gomorrah. Forgive me, my memory's escaping me. And God wasn't confident he would be able to do it, so he was kind of almost at a notion about to start the destruction. But Abraham said pretty much, hold on. God, I think I can find 10. Okay, and I just express that simply to stress that, particularly with them, us too sometimes, because we get that biblical self-righteousness, and you go on to you know where for this and that. But even God didn't condemn the people of Sodom and Gomorrah. Again, he told Abraham, just find me 10. And brothers and sisters, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm certain we can find 10 righteous men in our urban communities. Chairman's going to take us through where much of the violence is taking place. And despite the violence, I'm certain we can find 10 righteous people.
Okay.
So if God didn't condemn Sodom and Gomorrah, then you need to close your mouth, Sally, about condemning us. Now that does not diminish how severe the crime is. I'm not attempting to do that. I'm only highlighting and stressing what our master teacher taught about how foolish it is to condemn someone. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will move into our discussions from our 5 pillars of the community. We're going to first start with, well, let me first introduce who they are. First, we have our Chairman Green, Ralph E. Green of our organization, Richard, Missouri. They're placed in the center. Next, we have our President of the organization, President Edward Brown, to the left. Then we have Kamari Tucker to his left. And to the right of the chairman, we have Brother Osiris Tucker, and we also have Brother Dwayne Gregory. And these are our 5 righteous brothers that were appointed, appointed by the cosmic and the master within. So we'll give them a round of applause. These are our 5. So we will, we're definitely going to start our discussion with the head of our organization, Ralph E. Green, and presentations. His presentation on the violence here in our Metro East area. Chairman Green. Oh, Brother Ed. Oh, excuse me. We'll have President Ed first. Yes, sir.
Greetings, everyone.
Greetings.
Just like to start by saying that we found it necessary to try to do something with all this violence, killing of our children. So we thank the Cosby for an opportunity to present some of this information to you. And hopefully you'll pass it along. There were 2 men that were brought into existence in Genesis. One was created, and the other formed out of the dust of the earth. The first one was created in the image and likeness of God, the Creator. One looks like him and is like him, God. And the other looks like him, but is not like him, the Creator. From the beginning, the one that was not like him made decisions that proved that he was not like him, the Creator. And from the beginning, we have lost track of and have not kept up with that part of us which is not like him, the Creator in us. Thus, misunderstanding of ourselves and the lack of true knowledge of these 2 selves has been the mysterious source of disharmony and violence in our lives, which we have created for ourselves down here on this earth plane. It is our duty in this men's forum to reacquaint us with that part of ourselves, this unseen destructive force we will call the lower part of Adam. This information was presented and taught to us by Dr. David M. Berry, the God Man, founder and master teacher of the New Age Truth. This information presented by this men's forum is founded on some of the ancient wisdom teachings that he presented to the world. The man that was created was not made out of the elements of the earth, but was made from out of that which cannot be corrupted. He was created from the highest aspect of the incorruptible aspect of God, perfect in every way, and therefore given dominion over everything wherein there is life. And rightly so, because he, God, is God, individualized. The other man was formed from the dust of the earth. He is corruptible because he is formed from the corruptible elements of the earth. This man must learn the importance of harmony, wisdom, love, and understanding. This man must learn through experience. He must grow from the beast man to the God man. When does this beast man really show the true side of his nature? Usually, when we find ourselves in opposition to each other. This man has not learned to give consideration to others, to their thoughts or point of view. We must learn to agree to disagree, and then let manifestation prove the truth to both of us. We must recognize this tragic flaw in us and work to improve this personality defect. The moment we witness the emotions beginning to rise in us, we must stop and consider this beast nature in ourselves.
Yes, sir.
What we need is consciousness. Consciousness of what is going on in our own form.
Yes, sir.
To delay or think that we can change another's mind can only end in disaster, especially if there's no consciousness to warn us. And usually, there is no consciousness to warn us because we have not been taught about the beast side of ourselves.
No, sir.
There are only two types of matter, organic and inorganic matter. Organic matter is able to reproduce within itself. Inorganic matter cannot reproduce within itself. These bodies, as pretty as they are from the same type of matter as other animals from the earth. Therefore, they have the same nature as other beasts that are on the earth. The beast nature. Survival of the fittest. Kill or be killed. Eat or be eaten. When feelings begin to rise to stimulate the emotions, we're already in trouble.
Yes, sir.
This can happen so quickly because there is no consciousness in feeling. Feeling dominates everything that eventuates from these forms.
Yes, sir.
If you notice the vibration rising little by little, this is a false effort to convince the opposition that you are in the right. It is not the raising of the voice or shouting that will change the other person's mental position.
No, sir.
This can only be done if there's a willingness to listen to a clear, calm presentation of the facts.
Yes, sir.
This will is a free and voluntary action. If the will is not able to execute freely, there will come a point in time when something involuntarily takes over. That being the lower man, the beast man. This inevitably means trouble, and many times big trouble. In plain words, violence. This discussion leads to a revelation on the difference between the carnal mind and the subconscious mind, and what part it plays in our daily lives. Let us begin with the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is the chief operator of this body. It controls the involuntary actions of the body and is the storehouse of memories and impressions of our lives. We take in food and the body digests the food. We scrape a part of our skin and the body automatically begins to heal the healing process. we don't think on what to do or how to heal it, the body starts the process immediately. We might try to help the body by cleaning the wound and putting some anointment on it, but the healing process will have already begun. If we say a small slither of wood in our finger under the skin of our body, automatically begins the sealing off of the piece of wood from the rest of the body with the white blood cells to protect the body. This process will continue until it can force the slither of wood out of the body. The process has a mental application also. This we must bring out now to help us further understand what is going on in our miscommunications one with another. Anytime someone says or does something to hurt our feelings or affect our feelings, our subconsciousness closes the door of receptivity to him or her. This happens in us automatically. We are not conscious of this door closing in us. It is an involuntary action done by our subconscious, just like the slither of wood we talked about earlier. This slither of wood that was sealed off from the body to protect the body, and shouting and screaming will not do a thing to open the subconscious door of receptivity. Next, the carnal mind or objective mind. This controls the voluntary action, the 5 senses, actually 4, and the will. If the carnal mind didn't have control over our voluntary actions, how would we prepare our food, take care of our clothes, or wash our face when we need to? If the carnal mind didn't have control over the 4 senses, how would we focus our attention on listening, or seeing things at a distance, or smelling what might be smoke, gas, or our own body odor? If we could not control our own will, we would not have free will. The soul would always make the choice in our decision-making process. Therefore, we could not learn through trial and error.
Yes, sir.
Only when the beast nature kicks in are we challenged with a choice.
Yes, sir.
This means we have to make ourselves do the right thing. We have to exert control over this beast nature in us. We literally have to take our own will back out of the hands of the enemy, the beast nature.
Yes, sir.
If we are unaware of what is going on in our own bodies, how can we accomplish this? Feelings are rising, emotions are rising. Many times it's too late to stop something very terrible from happening. Like we said before, inevitably, this means trouble, and many times big trouble. In plain words, violence. This does not relieve us of our responsibility of controlling ourselves. We must control ourselves or suffer the consequences. And to further emphasize the problem we are facing today in the world, I would like to point out that there are 3 types of men in the world today. This also includes women. We're the other half of each other. The first type of man is dead while they live. They are alive in the form, but unaware of what is going on in them. They are unconscious of the feelings and emotions that may rise in their own form. The second type of beast man is he that judges the outward appearance of people and things. This automatically means conflict, because he or she cannot penetrate the veil of matter to see the cause behind the effects, i.e. the truth. Unless he is willing to be taught or willing to be guided by someone who knows this, it means trouble again, violence. The third man is the one that is made in the image and likeness of the Creator and knows that he knows he knows. He is the man that knows whatever may be known about God is in man and is conscious of the God in himself. This has been proven to him, through him, and by him time after time. These are the causes of the crisis that is vexing our planet today: conflicts and violence. Let us not be discouraged by these times that we live in today. These times are a preparation for a new period of discovery for the world today. Man's limitation is just in God's opportunities. Believe it or not, these experiences we are going through are preparation for a new knowledge that is needed. It is a preparation for us to be introduced to and receive the information of this new age. This being brought out in this planet here and now. A new understanding of ourselves and others, which will lead us to solutions we so desperately need and desire. This New Age period of discovery for the world is called New Age Truth. This new information will help us free ourselves from ourselves. In plain words, save ourselves from ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, President Brown, for your presentation. Next, we will have our Chairman, Ralph E. Green.
I have some alarming statistics to share with you.
Yes, sir.
St. Louis 2019 homicide statistics. Total cases so far 203. Motives. Arguments 20. Drugs 8. Jealousy 2. Robbery 16. Fights 1. Victims under 17. Females 7. Males 18. 20 to 29-year-olds. Females 11. Males 52. 30 to 39 years old. Females 8. Males 24. 40 to 49-year-olds. Females 5. Males 19. 50 to 59-year-olds. Females 1. Males 11. Race. Black. Females 22. No, excuse me, 23. Males 128. White. Females 6. Males 7. Relationships. Acquaintances 21. Boy or girlfriend 6. ex-boy or ex-girlfriend. 2, spouse. 1, child. 1. Neighborhoods with more than 5 homicides. Wells Goodfellow, 14. Penrose, 12. Walnut Park East, 11. Dutchtown, 9. Baden, 8. The Greaterville, 8. Lewis Place, 7. Jeff Vandaloo, 6. Kings Highway, 6. Those are the statistics I was to share with you. Thank you. Like to acknowledge Brother Ledbetter, Brother Chris Hayden. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you, Chairman, for those alarming statistics about the Metro East area and the neighborhoods that are plagued the most with the most violence. So next we have Brother Osiris Tucker with his presentation.
Excuse me, was that Metro St. Louis?
That was St. Louis.
That was
St. Louis
That was
area.
just St. Louis, no.
Okay.
The county, not East St. Louis.
Right.
That was just
Just
the
the
city.
Just the city, that's what I was saying.
Okay, those are the statistics for the
Just
city of
St.
St.
Louis.
Louis.
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
You know, from January to now.
Okay, from January to now.
203.
That's quite a bit for a city.
That's the city. We not talking about the county.
That's the city.
When you even worse, I mean, you know, when you combine all of them.
Right.
Brother Osiris.
Thank you. Greetings again, everyone. We want to thank the President for his profound and critically important message. So many matters he expressed we need to give our greatest consideration to. And he proved that the world is truly a schoolroom. Because we need to practice many of the matters he addressed. Though very somber, Chairman, thank you for the reminder just how much violence has penetrated just the city of St. Louis. And I don't know if I could have taken it if you would have given statistics from the east side in St. Louis County. My goodness. But thank you nonetheless, sir. And thank you, Chris, for coming out and bringing your beautiful, brilliant young men there. They do bear your likeness. Yes, indeed. And Lamar Ledbetter, thank you, as always, for not only coming, but also spreading the word. So when the people are ready, this room will be over capacity. So if we can appeal for a few moments of your time to share some impressions we had, we'd like to do so. We must first understand that we are more than merely flesh. Today, more and more people are becoming conscious of this fact. Some say we are spirits having an earthly experience. Well, if we were playing darts, that would not hit the bullseye, but it would hit the board. What animates, brings life to our dense, fleshy forms is energy, brothers and sisters. It is energy or electricity that allows all in the universe to move and have its activity. Why is this important to know regarding the subject at hand, which is violence in our communities? If we accept that what we are in reality is an energy source, then we simply need to reach an understanding of this energy and its purpose for penetrating into this material plane and constructing a form in order to express itself on this material plane. In our organization, we call this infinite source of not just energy, but conscious energy, the soul. With this understanding, we draw another undeniable conclusion, which is that the physical form, which is opposite the soul, is therefore not the real you. This is where New Age truth, via the teachings of our founder and master teacher, Dr. David M. Berry, become paramount. Brothers and sisters, it is our duty to learn of the difference between our soul nature and our animal nature. We will elucidate this difference so that we can acquire the tools necessary to neutralize, transform, and disintegrate the violence in our communities. Let's start with principle. Our master teacher expressed that, quote, principle is that which brings all into being, end quote. We observe that principle is employed in many of our engagements, even if, brothers and sisters, those engagements are criminal. Allow me to explain. Please keep in mind there are always exceptions to the rule. Criminal activities, particularly organized crime, gangs, and white-collar crimes, typically employ many of the same principles that non-criminal activities employ. For instance, criminal activities involve order, respect, and sacrifice. Duties have to be delegated. Reports have to be made. There is often a hierarchy and even a code of conduct. So, as we can plainly see, these are the same principles we employ in our non-criminal activities. What's the difference, though, brothers and sisters? What is the difference between criminal activity and non-criminal activity, since they both employ the same principles? The difference is simply that criminal activities are designed with the purpose of deceiving and causing harm. Deceiving and causing harm. This, brothers and sisters, is completely contrary to our soul nature. My reason for addressing principle as applied to criminal activity is to highlight the universality of principle and to magnify the point that beyond the principles employed in our endeavors, purpose must be established by the law that governs our soul nature. By the law that governs our soul nature, or else the principles employed will be used for destructive purposes. In our quest to diminish violence in our communities, it is also critically important that when people are being tested, they learn to read the warning signs. Learn to read the warning signs. Our master teacher warned us that when we're tested in life, if we're not conscious of what is being activated within our forms, our emotional pot will start to simmer. And if we continue unconsciously with the situation, as our president just reminded us, our emotional pot will start to boil. And we all know what happens when a pot boils out of control. The soul, which is without form, uses its opposite in nature, which is the dense physical form, to allow us to receive warning signs that danger is upon us. And that danger is made known to us via the various emotional signals our very own forms produce, such as a racing heart, butterflies in our solar plexus, shaky hands, tightness in our head, dry mouth, and so forth. If we don't recognize these warning signs, we put ourselves in great jeopardy of something terrible happening to us, the person we're dealing with, or both. Excuse me, brother. We've all been observing you verbally spar with your girlfriend for over 20 minutes now, and the warning signs are resonating from you. With all due respect, brother, if you don't remove yourself from this situation, you will forfeit free and voluntary control of your will. Free and voluntary control of your will, and disaster shall visit the mother of your children. Brothers and sisters, this plain reality that unfortunately escapes far too many of us is one of the main reasons we have so many murders and other heinous crimes being committed in our communities. Again, people don't heed the warning signs, or they simply don't care. And when you don't care, you reduce yourself from the human kingdom down to the level of the four-legged beast. When that little light activates in our car that looks like a gas pump, what do? We head to the nearest fueling station. When the check engine light activates, what do? If we are wise, we head to a mechanic shop as soon as possible. Brothers and sisters, some of us take better care of our automobiles than we do our very own soul-animated temples that are to be used for the highest, most noble expression endowed to us from the great law. Now, we want to make it crystal clear that the soul, the real you, penetrated into this earth plane and constructed a vehicle for its expression for one purpose and one purpose only. And that is to create and maintain harmony throughout its earthly tour of duty. Self, the secret enemy, our lower nature, works contrary to or opposite the soul. It wants to be, as our master teacher often reminded us, quote, the preeminent and overpowering mind, force, and control in our daily thinking and activities, end quote. We are all here on this earth plane to learn about our soul nature and restore it, the real you and real me, to its rightful and righteous position as master and controller of our animal nature. Bear with me a few more minutes. I don't know if I need the microphone for this. This is Air Traffic Control Tower OAO, onlooker and observer. Silver skies, you're headed towards severe weather. Go ahead and decrease altitude to 8,000 feet. Do you copy? OAO, this is Silver Skies, Captain Blake Whitaker. I am aware of the conditions ahead. I will not decrease our altitude. I have everything under control. Silver Skies, this is Air Traffic Control Tower, OAO Commander Habari Ellis. Sir, you're carrying 217 passengers along with your flight crew, and you're headed directly into very hazardous conditions. Please decrease your altitude to 8,000 feet immediately, Captain. Do you copy? OAO again, that's a negative. I will not decrease our altitude. I am the captain of Silver Skies Flight 63108. I control my crew, and once again, I am in complete control of my plane. Over and out.
All right now.
I don't mean to sound vain, but OAO doesn't understand I have complete control over the functions of my plane. So at this altitude, we shall remain. Folks, this is your captain speaking. We're headed toward a little storm and a bit of turbulence, but I have everything under control, so don't be concerned that the air is dense. I have the control yoke firmly in my grip and in my sight. Folks, sit back, try to relax, and enjoy the rest of the flight.
Uh-oh.
This is your captain again. Just to inform you, I'm having problems with the left wing rudder. And don't panic, but the plane has also started to sputter. I can't pull the control yoke to stop our decline. But don't worry, I'll reassume control and everything will be just fine. Kenya Holcomb reporting from Channel 7 News.
Oh, God.
Ladies and gentlemen, they're still searching the wreckage for clues. It appears the pilot's actions were contrived, causing the plane to dive, and unfortunately, no one survived. Wow, thank you, Kenya. We'll check back with you for an update in about an hour. It's too bad the pilot wouldn't listen to the control tower. Something seemed to affect him and get him all out of sorts. Rashid, what's the latest in sports?
Oh, moving right along.
Brothers and sisters, if we don't listen within to our higher nature, or someone else who serves as onlooker and observer, we neglect the most intelligent course of action to take. A fatal plane crash because the pilot could not be reasoned with. The control the pilot thought he had over his vehicle proved not to be so. When he was tested by very hazardous conditions, he received the proper instructions from his onlooker and observer, the control tower. Yet in his irrational state, he could not overcome the influence of the enemy within him. Now, excuse me. Forgive me. Now, 3-year-old Kennedy Powell will never play again. Xavier Usunga, age 7, is no more a friend. Journey Thompson, age 8, won't ever walk through her mother's gate. Whipped into a frenzy was the family of 15-year-old East St. Louis native Jalen McKenzie. 2-year-old Caden Johnson and his mother, Trinity Riley, hid in the closet. Moments later, bullets would make their deposit. 11-year-old Shawnesia Keys, 16-year-old Jayshawn Johnson, 16-year-old Michael Henderson, 16-year-old Christina Curry, 16-year-old Maisha Cannon, and numerous others from the St. Louis area are no longer here in form. Not because of a plane crash, of course. Nevertheless, due to the same irrational behavior expressed by the pilot in our little analogy.
Brothers and sisters, I trust you agree that we urgently need to know the cause and cure for the violence suffocating our communities. And what we have shared here, we trust you accept is a part of the antidote. The doors of New Age truth, wisdom, knowledge via our master teacher and founder, Dr. David M. Berry, are wide open. Come directly in and receive your portion of the treasure. There's enough for everyone. Thank you for your time and consideration. Love and harmony, Brother Osiris.
Thank you, Brother Osiris, for that fiery and heartfelt expression and presentation. And for that great example at the end, and also calling out a few victims in St. Louis City violence. Okay. Next, we have Brother Kamira Tucker with his presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thank you guys for coming out. Ladies and gentlemen, I should say, not guys. I apologize. But that's a hard act to follow. Thank you, Osiris.
All right now.
Just his words were absolutely correct. Fiery and from the heart, passionate. Well, what I want to do today is talk about the violence in our communities. So let us take time today to consider the violence that is so pervasive throughout our communities. How often do we as individuals give this most critical of issues, this most alarming issue, its due consideration? Not the consideration that we want to give it, but the consideration that it is due. How often do we attempt to give sincere thought on what the cause of it is and what the cure may be? The plan for today's men's forum is to impart information that I have acquired through many years of observation from living within the Black community. This observation, in return, has allowed me to become conscious of some of the things that are happening within our community. And this consciousness that I've acquired, in return, has given me some knowledge of what the cause is and what the cure may be for the violence that plagues our communities. And knowledge, ladies and gentlemen, knowledge of self, that is the only thing that can neutralize, transform, and disintegrate the violence that plagues our communities.
Yes, sir.
This is the plan. The purpose for this men's forum is to have the information that I impart, first of all, be mentally digestible so that you can understand it. The second phase is so that this information may have a constructive impact or make a constructive impression on those of you in the audience, so that you may take this information and apply it to yourself, tell others about it, and so that eventually and ultimately it can be applied to the community as a whole. Let us begin. The first and most important step in reversing this trend of violence is to change the way we think.
Yes, sir.
Before any act of violence is committed, before any violent words are spoken, it is preceded by something. And that something is always a thought.
Yes, sir.
That's true.
We have to change the way we think about one another.
Yes, sir.
It's that simple. Let us consider some of the words we use to communicate with each other, and let's see if they're constructive or destructive. Let's start off with the most popular, or infamous, I should say, of these words, a nigger. The B word for the women. That's common language for a lot of brothers, unfortunately. Or a thought, or a whore, or we call each other thugs. What's up, thug? Now let's take those words into consideration. If we continue to think this way, and we continue to express these destructive thoughts that we have about one another, ultimately, and to the detriment of ourselves and others, we will eventually manifest those same thoughts and expressions through our actions.
Yes, sir.
No one can escape this. Thoughts, expressions, and actions. This is what we need to become conscious of in the Black communities. If you think it enough, you're going to eventually say it. If you think it and say it enough, you're going to eventually manifest through your actions. Because what we're doing unconsciously is we are perfecting ourselves in our practice every day. We say it every day. We think it every day. And ultimately, our actions will prove that we have become angry and violent individuals without us ever being conscious of it, because it happens so subtly. It feels so good because feeling controls these bodies. It feels good to call a woman a B-word. Young men get a sense of empowerment when they say it. I see it in them. It feels good to say, that's my nigga, without being conscious of the destructive nature of it.
Yes.
And then when you eventually shoot and kill your nigga, you're not going to realize why you did it.
Right.
Because you don't know the principles that work and control this physical form. These are the things that, brothers and sisters, we must become conscious of. On the other hand, if we were to take a small, simple step and simply try to reverse the words that we think first, just the way we think of each other. Let's think of that young lady as a sister. Let's think of that young lady as a mother, as a daughter. Let's think of that young man as a brother, as a father, as an uncle, as a neighbor, as a friend. Let's just start there first. Let's try this for 1 week straight. Just thinking it. Let's see what happens when we start to express these things. And let's apply this and make this our daily practice.
Yes, sir. Daily practice.
Daily practice. And then let's observe to see if there is a change ultimately and eventually with our actions, the way we interact with one another. Again, thoughts, expressions, and actions. It can be destructive. It can also be completely constructive. But we have to force these changes on ourselves. Because remember, we have perfected ourselves in our practice at being violent and angry. And our environment and the music we listen to enhances that, encourages that. So anything that has been perfected will not be easily undone. And this is why so many brothers and sisters, as hard as they try, cannot rise above that. Because they have perfected it. And they don't know what to do not to be angry. They don't know what to do not to be violent. So we have to take time, brothers and sisters, to observe ourselves. Observation is the key. If you can't observe yourself, then you will never become conscious of yourself. If you can never become conscious of yourself, then you can never gain knowledge. And it's impossible for anyone to do anything about anything if they're not conscious of it first.
Right.
And we have so many brothers and sisters, unfortunately, walking around in our communities who are totally unconscious of the fact that they're going down a destructive path. Because the way this feeling body works, it is deceptive.
Yes, sir.
We have fooled ourselves into thinking that everything that feels good is good. If I listen to this song and it feels good to hear them talk about killing brothers, calling women a B-word, then that is me. That feels good. That's the deception in its physical form.
Yeah.
So we have to learn to observe. Again, first observe ourselves, first and foremost. Let's observe those around us, and then ultimately observe our environment. The process of constructive change, as I just stated, will not come easily. And this is a fact that is lost on many of us.
Yes, sir.
Nothing that's worth fighting for will come easy. And that's exactly what we must do. We have to fight hard in order to reverse this mindset that we have. Just like you force that liquor down your throat that you don't really like, it doesn't taste good, that fifth of Hennessy. It's like you force yourself to go out there on the corner when it's 20 degrees because you're trying to hustle or something. You force yourself to do it. You're going to have to take that same energy and apply it to something constructive.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
And you're going to have to do it consciously.
Right.
So it's not going to be easy. what we will be able to do once we start to become conscious of what's happening within us, within our communities, we're going to have to start trying to give one another consideration.
Yes.
This is the first step in intelligence. Once we start to give one another consideration, and then eventually we may be able to cooperate with one another. Once we're able to cooperate with one another, we may eventually be able to unite with one another. And if we can start to unite, then maybe we can start to truly care about one another. Care has to be proven. Care is a free and voluntary investment of your will. Your will is a free and voluntary action. Just like brothers and sisters, we freely volunteer to go out there and cuss someone out. We freely volunteer to go out there and are willing to fight at the drop of a hat. We're willing to kill the mother of our children because she's dating another man.
Right.
We're willing to sell drugs to our senior citizens in our communities just to give us a few dollars in our pocket. We have to be willing to do what is constructive. We have to fight for it. And a lot of us in our communities don't have any fight for anything that's constructive because it doesn't feel good.
That's right. Yes, sir.
We are totally dominated by how we feel.
Yes, sir.
And that's a popular saying now. I mean, my feelings. At least people are starting to realize that. They haven't really hit the mark on the head, but they're starting to realize. I mean, my feelings about this. You don't know how true you are.
Right.
You haven't even scratched the surface about how feeling utterly dominates you. But these are the things we must become conscious of. So care always has to be proven through your actions. You can't prove care through talking. Actions speak louder than words.
Absolutely.
Once we start to go down this path of constructive change again, the next thing we want to do, if we've started to give consideration to others, which is the first step of intelligence, we have to put into our mind that we're going to become an asset to the community and not always a liability. There are too many young people, particularly young black men, who are strictly a liability in their communities and are proud of it.
Right.
They're lifted up about it. They brag about it. There are too many young people in our communities who have absolutely nothing of importance, nothing of significance to add to the community. And this has to change. We have to start looking at our communities as just that, a community, not the hood anymore.
Right.
See, we think that words are just words, but our actions prove that they're not just words, because you're going to prove that it is the hood. Because you're going to gangbang somebody in the hood. You're going to shoot somebody in the hood. When was the last time you heard somebody, I'm going to kill him in my community? They don't say that. I'm going to kill him in the hood. When was the last time you heard someone say, I'm going to go kill that young lady or that sister? What do they say? I'm going to get that beat.
Yeah.
I'm going to go kill that young man or that brother. No, I'm going to kill that nigga. So words are not just words. They carry a vibration, obviously. It's not me saying this. That's what's proven. No matter what I think about it, it's proven that when we say we niggas, we're going to prove it. I'm going to prove to you, you are just that. And brothers and sisters, we have to learn how to unite over things that are more substantive than just smoking weed together.
Right.
Than just gambling together.
Yes, sir.
Than just going out trying to pick up women together. Because here's what happens oftentimes, and I've seen this firsthand and heard of many other cases. You have individuals who come together like this all the time in the black community for purely destructive purposes.
Yes, sir.
And outwardly,